बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। उस्ताद मोहतरम जनाब एस.एम. ज़फ़र साहब, हम तमाम वकला की जो जनरेशन है वो ज़फ़र साहब को हमेशा लुक फॉरवर्ड करती है, उनको हम अपना परमानेंट स्पिरिचुअल उस्ताद मानते हैं, इसलिए उनसे मुखातिब होना सबसे पहले उनकी इजाज़त लेना ज़रूरी है। और साहबज़ादा साहब, मुस्लिम इंस्टीट्यूट के हवाले से अमजद साहब और मौजूद मेहमानान गिरामी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। I assume that we can communicate on bilingual basis as well, which is English and Urdu. I see some foreign guests as well, which are present there, and perhaps another worthy guest walking in. First of all, I think I would like to bring formally on record my appreciation for the exercise which this think tank is conducting and the professional manner in which they are doing this exercise. And the speaker before me just gave a rundown of the extensive nature of an academic work that this think tank is undertaking. I must congratulate all those who are associated with this exercise to make it a very meaningful and a very thorough exercise. I believe the way the debate is being conducted, I would like to, as I said, I would like to appreciate the wonderful work that the think tank is doing in terms of the work it is carrying out, in terms of topics it is touching, but more in the manner in which this think tank is carrying out this exercise. It is something that is not very well noticed. Mostly people, they work on a single or a unidimensional exercise or debate. But I think the manner in which the debate is being structured, the manner in which the debate has been presented, the propositions have been framed, and more so, that the debate has ensured that diverse points of views are also taken on board. This, I think, is a very rewarding experience for this entire exercise. So you can hear people on this side of the fence opposing those on the other side of the fence, and coming out with legal, rational arguments, and based on those arguments, building up greater clarity on the issue. The issue on hand is, of course, extremely sensitive. The issue on hand is whether the freedom of expression gives you the right to insult others. And I think the starting point was briefly mentioned, is written, as I am a lawyer, so I look at it from a legal point of view, is 3 articles in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights: Article 18, Article 19, and Article 20. These, ladies and gentlemen, are those articles which create, ensure, and grant the right of freedom of expression, but at the same time, it also carves out certain exception zones. The article says very specifically that advocacy of war is prohibited. So freedom of expression will not include advocacy of war. The freedom of expression will not enable any entity, whether a country or a non-state actor, to propagate war or to create justifications for war. So that is outrightly prohibited in the ICCPR. So International Convention, to which Pakistan is a party, prohibits any kind of propaganda that advocates war. The other area where there is a prohibition is incitement to violence. No person is permitted to carry out an exercise or an expression which creates an incitement to generate violence. So if there is an incitement to violence through a speech, if there is an incitement to violence through a television program, if there is an incitement to violence through a state, if there is an incitement to violence by a non-state actor, they can be categorized in a prohibitory zone in terms of international law and also in terms of Pakistan's own constitution, which mirror images substantially those exceptions which are provided for the international treaties and conventions. So one can create domestic frameworks, whether it's PEMRA framework, whether it's framework for licensing regimes created by PEMRA to some entities, or whether it is any other non-binding soft legal frameworks that institutions may create which can implement these prohibitions. The other area which further mirror images that freedom of speech has inherent limitations are the Official Secrets Act framework, where when you take oath under the Constitution, the office bearers have a duty not to make disclosures. So the Official Secrets Act legal framework creates another prohibitory zone in respect to which you need not share information in media and public. And then now, these are the areas which are least controversial. So, for example, on incitement, now we have a UN Security Council resolution under Chapter 7, which binds the states that if there is a freedom of expression being misused to create incitement, one can stop that incitement. The other area, the only remaining area now, is the area which has been the subject matter of this particular special debate, the dignity of a human being. To what extent the freedom of expression can interfere in the area of dignity. Now, the law of dignity is personified in domestic jurisdiction through the law of libel, the law of defamation. You cannot defame an individual. You cannot defame and create libelous comments against him. He will retain the right to react. He will retain the right to file a suit for defamation against you. He will have the right to claim damages that you have wrongly defamed him, and we have a specialized defamation law on this. We have a specialized defamation court on this. And this is not only peculiar to Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. The law of defamation is well developed in advanced jurisdictions. In UK, US, elsewhere, people file billions of dollars of suits. So the law relating to dignity of an ordinary human being is well regarded, is well respected, is well recognized. So when we talk of the law of dignity of a normal human being, when we talk of the law relating to the dignity of religious symbols, religious personalities, and religious beliefs, we are now talking of a different level altogether. And that's where the debate brings so much of richness into this discussion. Should the religions be defamed? Should the freedom of expression include the right to defame a religion or a religious symbol or a religious personality? Not Muslims, but for that matter, every religion. What is an international law on this, and what's a domestic law on this? The international law on this, as I said, is reflected in 18, 19, 20. But if you look at the state practice of the states, since 1960s, my research team calculated there are over 70 plus UN General Assembly resolutions on defamation of religions. So the law relating to defaming of a religion has been very well developed. So the argument internationally is that there is an international customs evolution that you can actually identify in the UN General Assembly resolution sets. There are various sets of resolution. I don't have the time to go through in detail of that. But some were titled specifically Defamation on Religion resolutions. Then there are specialized resolutions of UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. So UN Human Rights Council in Geneva for the last several years has been passing a set of resolutions. These resolutions are also creating a legal prohibition with respect that we should not arbitrarily defame religious symbols. Then the UN Human Rights Council, in a recent process called 16/18, has passed a more specific resolution creating a legal framework. This has been sponsored by the OIC. Radha Sahib will bear witness to this. The OIC has been very active, and Pakistan's delegation in Geneva, Mr. Zamir Akram, has been spearheading this process, in which 16/18 has been formulated. And in a more recent event, last week, 2 weeks ago, I was in Jeddah myself. The Secretary General of OIC had summoned a special experts session, and international lawyers from all over the Muslim communities were summoned, along with international experts, along with the UN Human Rights Council's president, along with the special rapporteur on freedom of expression, and we had 2 days long debate, more or less, on these issues, identifying that there are limits that needs to be respected, and these limits are then also reflected in domestic laws of the countries. So we shared with each other the domestic laws in Denmark, in Germany, in France, in several other countries, in which it was very clearly identified that you could prosecute individuals, you could prosecute entities and groups if they were found to be defaming a certain religion or a religious symbol. So that has been a state practice of the states at various levels. That has been a state practice of international law by the international community. And given this state practice, this debate which this think tank has carried out adds additional richness to that strength, to that formulation that we've been working on, that at an international level there is a need. And I believe that the present government and some of its leadership has been hinting towards it, a possibility of creating an international forum, a possibility of creating a legal framework pursuant to which those who have grievance, instead of resorting to violence, they should go to some international venues or forums, international venues, and say, well, Charlie Hebdo or a newspaper in New York or some entity has carried out an activity that defames us, it hurts our interests, hurts our feelings, and we want to know why has this been done and why shouldn't a prosecution be done in this case. Let the defendant come and say, well, sorry, I did not even realize that I was defending the feelings, or if there was a forum or such. So I believe there is a need, and we are at a maturity level based on the discussion that this debate has generated, to come to a point where the Prime Minister of Pakistan or the government or the OIC should look at the possibility of a global venue for addressing some of these concerns that Muslim communities across the world have, and not only Muslim communities, but other communities as well. So if there is X community which has a grievance against Y community, they should be equally entitled to use that forum. But that forum will provide a comprehensive, neutral platform to avoid violence. Because if you have a defamation of religious incidents, and that incident leads to an act of aggression, an act of violence, that further degenerates the whole process. And therefore, I believe this is a time that we should look at these options. I must thank the participants and I must thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and I'll be available for any further question and answers. Thank you very much.